Hey there! Welcome to the Flute 360 podcast. I'm Dr. Heidi K. Begay, and I'm a flutist, educator, coach, and podcaster. My God-given mission is to serve you. I am passionate about guiding you, the modern-day flutist, to discover your unique voice on and off the stage. The goal of this podcast is to help you thrive, both as an artist and as a musicpreneur. Go ahead and grab some espresso, your favorite notepad, and let's get to it. Today's episode 239 is titled Creating a Flute Album with Guilherme Andreas.
Hello.
Hi. Hey, friend. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's so nice to officially meet.
I know. It's been so long, right?
It has. And thank you so much for being patient with me from 22 into 23 and saying, come back to me after UMBS. I so appreciate your patience.
No problem at all. Like, it's great. You're busy, right?
Yeah, to say the least.
No, it's totally fine. It's totally fine.
So you're in New York.
Yes, I'm living in New York right now.
Oh.
At the very moment. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
How long have you been in New York?
It's been 3 years, almost 4. So I moved here after I finished Peabody. So I lived in Baltimore for 3 years as well. I finished Peabody and then I stayed a year as well in Baltimore. Then I moved up here. But then I also live in Virginia. So I lived in the South as well. 2 years and then 3 years in Baltimore. And now coming to 4 years in New York. Yeah. It's been great. It's been really great. Mm-hmm.
You like it?
I do. New York, New York is like crazy expensive, but I don't know, like it's the best city. I don't know if it's the best city in the world, but it's the best city. People say, "Oh no, it's the best city in the world." I'm like, maybe,
Oh.
It's one of them.
So if you had to answer that question, what is the best city in the world? What would your answer be?
Wow, that's a good question. I want to travel a little bit more. I'm still very biased. And of course, like because I'm from Brazil, I still feel like Rio de Janeiro is like one of the best places in the world. Like, or maybe even São Paulo, they're like very, very nice places like to live and like in terms of food, in terms of like culture, in terms of music, all kinds of music. But New York is awesome. Like, Broadway and all the shows and all the orchestras and the Metropolitan Opera is right here. So I live very close to Broadway. So I literally can just, walk a little bit, like 5 minutes, and I'm already like seeing, I can see like The Wicked or like any of the great Broadway shows at the moment. Or if I walk just like, I don't know, like 10, 15 minutes, I'm literally like at Carnegie Hall or like, the Metropolitan Opera, the New York Phil, like Juilliard. So like New York is like awesome because like it's very concentrated in terms of like culture and all.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I still struggle with the weather though. Like sometimes when it gets very cold, I'm not gonna lie, I love summer here and like the fall as well. But when winter comes, oh my God, it's not, people love it. I'm like, the days get shorter and, like it gets dark so quickly and there was no sun at all. Like, oh my God, I still struggle, but it's okay. It's okay. It's great. I love it. Yeah.
Nice. My sister-in-law is actually in New York City.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know what part. She does like it. She's through like the film side of things. So she will do projects like literally the huge shows like Project Runway and these chef shows. Yeah. And so like by contract and stuff, she can't like disclose or take pictures with these famous actors or actresses because they need their privacy and things like that. Yeah. But she'll never take a picture because she doesn't want to, cancel out that contract or do something that she's not
Yes.
supposed to do. But she'll
Yeah.
text my husband and I and go, "Oh my gosh, I saw blah, blah, blah." And it's so cool because you're right. Like New York is this hub of cultural experiences and people and
Yes.
opportunities. And just you talking
Yes.
about going down to Carnegie Hall and then, the
Yes.
Met and Broadway. And it's all within walking distance. And
It
I'm
is.
so
It is.
jealous. Yeah.
Or just get on the subway, just hop on the
Yeah.
subway and you're gonna be there in a few minutes. But it's even like not working in TV or whatever, like you always see like all the actors and like or actresses around. Like, you walk around here.
Yeah.
I've seen like so many times some people like, Jonathan, I always forget his last name, but he's like one of those movies now that's like just came out. I forget. I'm very bad with the last names. But I see a lot of actors like walking around. And the funniest thing is like sometimes they're just like walking around like normal people. So you look at them and you're like, well, I know this person, but like, have I met this person? And then you're like, oh my God, this person's like on TV. But they're literally just walking around here, and you're like, oh my God, it always happens. I always thought like it was
Interesting.
people, yeah, exaggerating and, like trying to make New York like look better than it is. But no, it's actually real. Like you see them walking around.
Huh.
Like you see them, or even musicians as well, especially because, as I said, like the orchestras, like, Julia, they're all around here. So, like, sometimes you go to the farmer's market and then you see like one of the people that, like, are playing like one of the, I don't know, like the Mendelssohn violin concerto at night. And then, you see Joshua Bell walking.
And then they're just picking
But
up
it's,
bananas the next day for their breakfast.
I know. So it's pretty interesting, like,
Yeah.
being here and like I'm very grateful. It's very
Yeah.
hard and all, but whenever I see myself like walking around here as well, like and I'm always like very grateful just to be
Aw.
here, like,
Maybe that's how
experiencing all
people,
of this.
I'm sure that's how people feel about you when you're walking around. They're like, "Oh my gosh,
Uh,
that's that amazing
I
Brazilian flutist."
Well, I hope so. I do hope so.
Yeah. No, I
Because
love
I've
this.
seen like people sometimes people would message me and it's not a drill, it's like real thing. People would message me because I'm walking and like I'm either like busy or like just in my head and like I'm not really paying attention to like what's going on. Because it's so much going on in New York. So like people sometimes message me, they're like, "Oh, I saw you walking this way," or like walking like, and I'm like, "Oh my God." And you didn't say hi. I was like, "Well, I was not paying attention. I'm so sorry." This is not me. I'm very nice, but I
Hey.
wasn't paying attention at all.
You are too fun. This is literally the most chillaxed conversation I think I've ever had on 360. So thank you
Oh, thank
so
you.
much.
No, thank you. I like to laugh. That's
Wait,
something that I really do like to do.
yeah, this might be the most featured laughing episode of all time,
Oh
and
my
I'm all
God.
for it.
Nice, that's nice because I do like to laugh. It's life is so hard already.
Right? And
Yeah,
2023 is off to a great start, isn't it?
it is. It is.
And I'm saying that with a little bit of sarcasm too.
Right, right.
We've got, aliens and, all
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
all
It's like,
sorts
oh,
of
great.
tragedies. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and then,
Oh,
yeah. And then on a more serious note, like the earthquakes and rivers
yes.
drying up and, the tragedy in Ohio. And it's just like, oh
Yes.
my gosh, like
And mass
us.
shootings and yeah.
Yeah.
Oof,
Yeah. My
my
heart
God.
goes out and it's insane, especially after the whirlwind that we've been through these past 2 years.
Yes,
And it's
yes,
just taking blow after blow after blow. And it's like,
yeah.
okay, maybe it is time for a good laugh fest.
Yes, yeah. It always is, because if
Yeah.
not, oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
That
I was getting my
that's true.
haircut done yesterday, and my hairstylist, her name is Courtney. And
Uh-huh.
we were laughing so hard because we were talking about like family problems and girl
Mm-hmm.
problems and
Uh-huh.
really like like when you get your nails done, your hair done, or anything kind of like an appointment like that, it always
Yes.
feels like a therapeutic session at the same time. Right? And you're like,
Yeah.
girl, let me
Yeah.
tell you what is going on. And I just like vent, and she's such a good friend, and she's listening to me. And we were
Uh-huh.
just laughing, and we were just, saying that snippet of like, Carrie Underwood's song, Jesus Take the Wheel. And we were
Yes,
saying,
yes.
oh my gosh, if like, the tribulation happens right now, we're all whisked away. How cool would it be if she's like mid cut and she's like, oh, and then I'm in like this hairdresser cape and then we just laughed so hard, and it felt so good to
Right.
have that connection, because you're right. If we take it all too seriously, it can like really bring us down. But if we can find
Yes.
some sort of silver lining to it, then it
Yes.
lightens up the mood.
Yes, because it's the day by day life that we have to build upon. Like, it's the step by step kind of a thing, and if every single day we choose just to, take everything very seriously and like just it just becomes a burden, and then it
Mm,
gets so heavy. And then how can we live like this?
yeah.
There's not, I don't know. I just like
Yeah.
laughing because
Yeah.
it helps me keep myself moving forward.
Yeah. Well, you've got a great laugh. So there's that.
Thank you. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
shoot. Yeah. So speaking of you being a little biased because you are a Brazilian flutist,
Yes.
you are, I believe, I am correct when I say this, and excuse my past guests, and I feel like I'm putting my foot in my mouth, but I believe you are the first Brazilian flutist on Flute 360.
Really? Oh my God.
Yes, yes.
That's
And I
so
and I
nice.
wouldn't want it any other way. I love looking at people with diverse backgrounds and
Hmm.
different cultures and languages, because we all bring something so unique to the table. And so to
Yes.
hear from your perspective as a Brazilian musician, how much can we learn from you today about like your
Oh.
perspective and your walk and your musical journey? And
Hmm.
I can't wait to pick your brain.
Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you so much. No, I'm very happy to share like anything. That's something that I like sharing, like my journey, like, story, and like, yeah, that's something that I have. It's like a lot of story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot to tell. That's for sure.
That's amazing. And you, I kid you not, as being a 360 guest, and we're talking, we're getting to know each other, not just you, of course, just because of our back and forth and us
Hmm.
building a relationship. Like, you're more to me than a guest. Like, we have a
Oh,
budding
thank you.
relationship and a friendship.
Yes.
And I love that. And I'm using this term very loosely. Like, I love that networking. I love
Yes.
bringing people into my orbit and getting to know my guests on a deeper level. And I kid you not, all of that's to say is you're making this podcasting thing so
Mhm.
easy for me. Oh my
Oh, thank
goodness.
you.
So my question is this your first podcast, or have you been on other shows? Or you won't hurt my feelings. If I'm like sloppy seconds, that's totally okay. But
Oh
is this the first
no.
time that you've done a podcast, or have you done other interviews in the past? I'm curious because you get it. Like you get like this conversational, setting up this really comfortable synergy space. Do you
Hmm.
do you get
Hmm.
my yeah.
I do. I
So I'm
do. Hmm.
curious.
Yes. No. I have been on a few podcasts
Okay.
not long ago actually, because like after I released my recent album, so I was trying to put the word out about it, like the music that I'm making and all that stuff.
Oh,
So I've been on a few shows, like maybe not a lot though, maybe like three or four.
okay.
But I've been on a few shows like podcasts and interviews as well, like once in a while. But
Yeah.
no, yeah. I mean, I would be absolutely happy to say that this is my first, but it isn't.
That's okay. That's all right. I won't hold it against you.
Oh, thank you.
But part of the compliment and the question is, how cool would it be if Andreas started a Spanish-based flute podcast?
Right, right.
I'm
I've
I'm
been
getting a
thinking
vibe. I'm
about it.
just it's
Yes.
an idea. I'm just planting the seed.
I know. I've been really thinking about that. Like, especially after I started like, being interviewed in podcasts and all, I've been thinking about it. Like I
Oh,
have to
really?
yeah. I would love to do something like this. I started like doing some kind of blogging on my website, and I
I
have
saw
to
that.
yeah, I have to pick that up because like I was interviewing a few flutists and all. And it was very, very nice just to have that kind of resource from people, that is not completely seen every time, but they have so much to share as well, and then, but then, life got busy again and I stopped doing that. So I've been thinking about like, revamping that as well on my website, but also like creating some kind of podcast of like, interviewing people like you do,
Yeah.
I think it would be something fun. I have to learn how to do the whole process, but it would be
Yeah.
completely fun. Yeah.
It could also be done in, are you bilingual or trilingual?
Yes, I'm bilingual, but
Okay.
I understand a little bit of like other languages. So like
That's
for
what I was
instance,
wondering.
right, I speak Portuguese and then I speak English as well, but Spanish is very easy for me to understand.
Okay.
I had to learn Spanish. Like it's one of my goals, like my
Uh-huh.
very like near future. I want to,
Yeah.
especially living in New York, like depending on where I am,
Mm.
people already think that I'm like, either I don't know, from the Bronx or like from, Republic Dominican or like
Huh.
from Puerto Rico or like from,
Yeah.
Honduras, whatever. And they start like speaking Spanish to me and then I'm like, I actually don't speak Spanish. I'm so sorry.
Oh, and like I did earlier, putting my foot in my mouth and saying Spanish, but it was just an assumption, just because I do know, like, vice versa, like my Spanish speaking friends do understand Portuguese to a certain extent
Yes.
and vice
Yes,
versa.
exactly.
But
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
Portuguese based flute podcast, like how cool would it be for you to speak Portuguese about these different things and
Yes. Yes.
touch and have the reach of a whole different audience that like us English speakers don't even and couldn't even reach.
I know. Yeah, I've been thinking about that. No, but your assumption was right though,
Yeah.
because even, it's very broad, right? Like especially when you talk about Latino music or Latinx music, it's so broad. And like one thing that I've been learning is exactly that. Like, Latino music is like so rich, but only not only, but also because of the languages. Like there's Spanish
Oh.
speakers, there's Portuguese speakers, there's French speakers there's from Latin America, because of the Guiana, France, the French Guiana is they don't speak Spanish, they don't speak Portuguese too, they speak French,
Huh.
but they are Latinos as well, so there is so much in Latin America that, hasn't been explored yet, I feel like.
Hmm.
So that would be, yeah, that would be great. I just have to figure out how to do it, but
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I possibly I will have something like that maybe in the near
Cool.
future. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good. So speaking of being busy, before we get into your album release and the lessons you've learned around that, because I want to pick your brain around that
hmm
area.
hmm
Let's kind of give the listeners a little foundation of like your studies in Brazil, what
hmm
it means to be a Brazilian flutist and studying. I think you went to a university in your home country, correct?
Yes, I did. I
Yeah.
did. I
And then
did.
bring us up to present day, if you don't mind giving us your a little backstory.
Sure, yeah, I will summarize. So, I started playing the flute very late in Brazil, for a lot of reasons, financial reasons, many reasons. I couldn't afford to, purchase an instrument, and then, anyway, so I started playing the flute. I was like 14, maybe years old. That's pretty late for a lot of people. Like usually, people start like at least learning music when they're like either in elementary school, right, or
Mm.
something like that. But it was pretty late for me. But I did finish high school very early.
Huh.
So I finished high school, I was 15. I started playing the flute when I was 14. I got this flute from the church that my family used to go to. They kind of let me like borrow their flute. And it was like a Yamaha 221. It was like this like the lava flute that was like very, very like,
Yeah.
it wasn't great. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to
Yeah.
like find, kind words, but
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. Anyway, so I had this flute for a little bit, and then I started practicing and started learning. And then I went to college. I was 15. So I went to college for flute performance. I'm from Brasilia, the capital of Brazil. A lot of
Okay.
people think that the capital of Brazil is Rio de Janeiro, but it's Brasilia, right? It's
Mm.
the city. in the middle of Brazil that was built not long ago. It was built like maybe 64, 65 years ago.
Mm.
It was a planned city. Anyways, long story short, let me go back. So I started playing the flute, and then I went to college right away for flute performance. I went to the University of Brasilia.
Mm.
And then as I was going through college, when I was about to finish, there was an opening for the Brazilian Marines Symphony, which is
Mm.
based in Rio. It was a national audition. There was just one spot, and they had this audition after like 9 or 10 years after the last one that they had.
Mm.
So I won the job, and I moved to Rio de Janeiro. And then I finished my schooling, my flute stuff, like in Rio. Rio was absolutely amazing. So that was my first professional job.
Mm.
Once I got the job with the Marines, I was named their principal flute, and I played with them for almost 5 years. In the meantime, because I started playing the flute very late, then I purchased like a professional flute. That was
Mm.
really the first, Actually, in order to get to the audition, I had to borrow someone else's flute again because like my flute was not good,
Oh,
but I was already, it was an audition, right? So like, how are you gonna
yeah.
audition? So a friend of mine allowed me to get her flute. It was a professional flute and all, so that's kind of how I won the job. Um,
Wow.
yeah. So then I finished all my, undergrad in Rio. That was like the very last semester. So like, and then I did some chamber music as well, like studies, and then I started competing. Because I was already when I got the job, I was 22. It took me a little bit to finish college because of a lot of things. And I was already 22 when I got the job. And when I finally got the job, I started like realizing that a lot of competitions are like very ageist in classical music, you know,
No, really.
right? And then I was like, well, I have to do something about this because like I don't have a
Mhm.
lot of stuff on my resume. So I started competing, and I won a few competitions, like chamber music competitions, but also soloist competitions. And two of the last ones were very special. One of them brought me to the US to do my
Mm.
master's. And the other one it's called the Preludio competition. It's on YouTube. Um, it's a reality show for classical musicians in Brazil. So it's like an American Idol kind of thing,
Okay.
and then but it's for classical music. So it's only young musicians, and we play with an orchestra, live TV. No, I'm mistaken. It wasn't live, but the recording was live. But they,
Okay.
do some editing, like really like reality show.
Yeah.
And then that one also, I won my round. I was supposed to have gone to the very finals, but then I was already here in the US.
Oh.
So I quit my job with the Marines. Then I came to the US to do my master's at James Madison University because because of the competition that I won, I won also full scholarship to do my master's at James Madison. So I
Oh,
went to James Madison.
cool.
Yeah, that's why I moved here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
That's a
I
sweet package.
I know. Yeah, I went to James Madison, finished my master's, then I went to Peabody for 2 years for another degree that would be like just flute performance and orchestral performance as
Mm.
well. And then I moved to New York, and then I've been, performing a lot, like so as a soloist, chamber music as well, a lot of orchestral playing. Like I just came back from playing with the Seattle Symphony a few weeks ago.
Cool.
And then I also had my album released last year. It's going to be a year next month.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's kind of the summary of my, flute playing and
Yeah.
flute life.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you so much for being so vulnerable and showcasing and sharing like your humble beginnings
Oh,
of
yeah, no
saying,
problem.
and just being like, yeah, this was my flute and it wasn't the best. But what I love from that story is you made it possible for yourself, even if you had equipment that was hindering you, to some degree. You made it
Yes.
work. You made it
I,
work and you said, hey, and you reached out to like a friend and you said, would you mind supporting me? Would you mind helping me? And then I'm curious, like, how much because it takes time, at least for me, it takes time
Hmm.
for me to adjust to another person's instrument. So
Yeah, yeah.
how much time did she give you to prep for the audition, or was it like, here's the flute, next day, go?
It was kind of a week
Okay.
prior to, to the audition. I don't really have like a hard time adjusting from flute to
Okay.
flute, you know?
Okay.
Like for instance, right now I play on a Brennan,
Okay.
right? But I had a Muramatsu before, like
Oh,
adjusting because Muramatsu is very different from a Brennan. It's
yes,
a
completely.
it's like playing. It's like I don't know, driving a Mercedes and then getting like a Tesla.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm
It's
saying. I don't do well with that. Like, I love Brannon's, I love
mhm.
Straubinger, I can play really well on Haynes, like that whole like
Yeah,
Boston esque,
yes,
But the Miyazawa's Maramatsus for me,
Japanese, right?
they just don't work. They're
Yeah,
beautiful
yeah.
instruments, but for me, I just don't sound good on them.
No,
And
I,
so
I
that's what I was
understand.
wondering. Like, if you were borrowing a flute for an audition,
I know.
you know,
Yeah, it didn't take too much, but
okay,
I don't know exactly what it is. I don't really have a hard time, adjusting from a flute to another. I
okay.
would say though, that one thing, we were talking about that I didn't stop, you know, moving forward because of the instrument, the equipment that I had, right? But one thing
Yeah.
that just, thinking back, like words are very, very important. Like words of, encouragement are very, very important. So that's what actually kept me going. Because, like, for instance,
Okay.
when I was playing, I was in college, I was in this youth orchestra in Brasilia, and the conductor was this conductor from Cuba. She was in Brazil a long time, and she was the one that saw me, like I was playing and I didn't know who I was as a musician, who I was as a flutist. And she heard me play. And then she was like, well, you know, and then she started asking me why I was still in Brazil. And I was like,
Oh,
what does that mean?
huh.
And then she would be like, well, because, you should start thinking about going outside of Brazil to, keep going with your studies and playing the flute. And, it was, and that was like a seed, that was like, you really planted, like, not only my heart, but like in really my brain, like in my soul. And it was
Huh.
like, and other people also started like, what are you doing here still? Like, you should go out. You should,
Really?
yeah. So,
Wow.
those kind of you know, words of encouragement that actually kept me going because there was also a lot of words of, you know, why,
Discouragement.
yeah, why are you doing this? Music's not gonna take you anywhere. It was completely the opposite, right?
Huh.
On one side, someone was saying, music is gonna take you many places. The other side was like, music's not gonna take you anywhere.
You're like,
It,
which one is it?
I know, yeah. So even when I went to college for music, because I started college so early,
Mm.
I had this like plan B that once I finished college, I was gonna go to, law school or, business
Oh,
school or accounting or anything that would securely bring me money,
be your backup.
Exactly. I was
Yeah.
like kind of pursuing my passion but a lot of people were just saying like this is a hobby. This is not going to do much, for you as a person and you're not going to be able to like have a family. You're not going to be, so
Yeah.
many things they're like people say sometimes and sometimes they mean well. Sometimes they just don't mean well at all.
Yep.
Right? So like those words on the other side, actually helped me keep going because like I'm a very
Hmm.
curious person. So like when people started saying like, you should go out, you should go like, you should go to Europe, you should go to the US, even if you don't like, because in Brazil there's this thing like people love flute playing from Europe, you know. And
Oh.
like, yeah, I don't know exactly why. There's a lot of stories about this, but uh people would say even if if you don't like Europe as much in terms of flute, just go to the US. Like they have so much resources and
Hmm.
the flute playing is great as well. But people would be always like saying, in flute festivals, like I would hear like from teachers. I almost went to Geneva to study in Geneva as well because I
Okay.
studied with Michel Balavans for a little bit. But people will be like, always like, no, you have to get out of Brazil. But,
Huh.
on the other side, people are like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
So I had to choose one. And the one that I chose was like the one that was really like,
Go
encouraging me
for
to,
it.
yes,
Yeah.
that's for sure. So the flute, of course, like makes such a huge difference. But, the words that people
Huh.
were like sharing with me, made
Yeah.
like the impact was like so much that that's what brought me here today.
That's amazing. No, it's
Yeah,
just a testimony to you and to your work ethic and to your drive to not let something like either the naysayers or the
yeah,
equipment or anything that you could have easily, and I'm saying this very loosely, made an excuse from that
right,
situation and been like,
right,
oh, well, like dot to dot. And then you could fill in
yeah.
the blank with your excuses. But the fact that
Hmm.
you were so driven to say, no, this is what I want, kudos to you. And I'm
Thank
curious,
you.
like, because you heard both sides of the fence, like, go for it, go to America, go to Europe, get out of
Hmm.
Brazil. And then you
Yeah,
heard the other side of the coin saying, no, what the heck are you doing? Why are
yeah.
you thinking this way? Do you, and I'm sure that, this is kind of a blanketed question and a kind of probably a question that's hard to answer. So I apologize in advance. But what
Hmm.
was the tipping moment or what was the tipping point where you actually then like lean towards, oh, okay, I'm just going to go for it? Was it your curiosity that actually was like the deciding factor, or was it another element or another like factor that helped for you to say, okay, I'm going to go for it? Are you a flutist frustrated that your instrument doesn't accurately represent your artistic voice? We hear you. Not owning an instrument that will showcase your musical abilities and let your creative voice shine through can be frustrating. Let us help you change that. At the Carolyn Nesbaum Music Company, we have a team of flute specialists who have been working in the industry for decades, and they have the knowledge and the skill to help you find your dream instrument. They have a wide selection of piccolos, flutes, low flutes, and head joints to match your creative needs. To help you find your perfect instrument, call the Flute Shop at 972 985 2662 to schedule your flute trial today. Or visit their website at fluteforyou.com, where you can check out their instrument selection online. Follow the Flute Store through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter for the latest news and updates. The Carolyn Nesbaum Music Company is truly your one-stop flute shop.
Yeah, I think, mostly was like my curiosity. But one thing that I'm gonna say though, it was my moving to Rio. Because
Oh,
Brasilia is like a big city like DC, but it's
okay.
not like it's almost like moving from DC to New York, and then you move to New York and then you see so much happening and you experience so much. And then I start realizing that it would be possible. So like when I moved to Rio, I had my professional, basically orchestral job, you know, you, my salary benefits and all that stuff. But I started meeting so many people through music
I
you
see.
know, and people that will be like coming and going, like, and I started like seeing artists, like, for instance, the very first time that I saw Joyce Didonato was in Rio de Janeiro. The very first time that I saw Bob McFerrin, it was in Rio de Janeiro.
Oh,
The very first time that I saw Yo-Yo Ma performing, it was also in Rio. The very
wow.
first time that I saw Jesse Norman, so many Joshua Bell, it was
Huh.
all in Rio.
Huh.
So then I started like connecting to, with other people. Like, for instance, I met this pianist through the chamber music program that I was studying at. And she had her daughter in France. So she was like going to France back and forth, blah, blah, blah. But she had this huge pile of flute music for flute and piano, French music. And I was looking for a pianist. But the drama is always like, you want to play, you need the pianist, but you have to pay the pianist, right? And then you have to, there's so much that you have to put into when you try to have a duo or, a chamber music group,
Mm.
whatever. And she was looking for a flutist. So she was ready to play flute music, which, you probably know as well. Like, it's so hard to find a pianist that wants to play flute music because the piano part is so hard as well. It's not just hard for us,
Yeah.
right? Like, the pianists are always like, oh, no, I don't want to play this because this is hard. Like, I'm just going to play this with flute, And you're like, oh my God, can you just play with me, please? And she was looking for a flutist. I was looking for a pianist. So like it was the perfect combination. So we started playing together. And then that was actually my first competition, my first win. Uh we started playing together and then we started like just, trying to do the thing for ourselves. So we started having recitals in Rio. Like I had two or three recitals in different places, downtown Rio every month. And then we won this competition where I played the Prokofiev Sonata and something else that I forgot now. But anyways, we won the competition. Those were the things that really like started like I started thinking, well, this might be doable.
Yeah.
Like
This is possible.
yeah,
Huh.
it's like when you are in the place that makes you or helps you blossom, it will take you somewhere else. It will make you grow. It's like it's almost like a plant. You have the right soil, you have water, you have sun. It's gonna blossom. It's not like magic. It will happen. You know. So I do
Yeah.
think it was curiosity, but I do think like moving to Rio like really changed my life. Like there
Yeah.
was so much going on. Like, and that was a time when Broadway shows started like also being presented in Brazil. So like I saw Cats, I saw, there was so much always happening.
Yeah.
We would go, I remember like just going on the weekends, I would just go see an orchestra at 2, then at 4, I would see another orchestra playing another concert. Then, at 6, there was the opera. And then you go out and you have samba, you have like Brazilian music. Like it was so much. It was like, oh my God, this is the life that I want.
Yeah.
And then that's what made me like, realize, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe
Huh.
if it doesn't work, but I think like it's more for the yes than the
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. I'm curious because I know you also teach to a certain
Hmm.
degree.
Hmm.
Do you have these conversations with your students?
I do. I actually
Mhm.
do. I do tell them usually that once they decide what they want to do, it doesn't mean that it will be easy. It will be hard. Actually,
Yeah.
it will be pretty hard.
Actually.
Yeah. But it's a matter of purpose. It's a matter of
Mhm.
like it sounds cheesy, but it's a matter of like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to be doing
Yeah.
with my life. So I will do it. I
Yeah.
don't want to like I don't know. I love animation movies. So like the Pixar movie Soul really touches on that subject. It's a music teacher in New York, but he always wanted to be a jazz musician, and that's his goal, and that's his. But he was never able to do it because of a lot of things. Because he's black, he lives in New York. It's so competitive. It's this and it's that. And then when he finally gets to his gig, he's like so overwhelmed, like with joy and all that stuff. And on kind of a very like small scale, because the movie's like a lot, but it's kind of what it is. It's a matter
Hmm.
of like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. It's not a matter of just like people's, opinions or money or not. It's
Hmm.
something, will work out.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what I've been trying to
Yeah.
do. It's still
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
And I tell them, but it's gonna happen. If you
Yeah.
try, it will happen. Even when I
Yeah.
go teach master classes sometimes, and I was so happy one of these days. I always forget. I go teach master classes, and then I never really think that people will include my name on their resume, but they are doing that now. So like, and one of the, the flutes that I taught, she literally sent me a message. She was like, "Oh, hey, I'm including your name on my resume, like, letter, blah, blah, blah." I was like, "Oh, that's so cool. And then because she literally followed what I said, because I went to her school
Mm,
and I saw her playing. It was like, I literally asked her the question that I was asked before. It was like, "What are you doing here? Like,
yeah.
why are you here? Like, why are
Mm,
you not in a bigger school? Why are you not studying with this teacher?" But my question wasn't just like to put like her in doubt. It was
yeah.
actually to make her think, to help her
Yes.
think that she could be in a place that would challenge her more in a ways that actually would bring her very, very best.
Yes.
So yeah, it's what I've been trying to do. That's for sure.
No, that's amazing. And that
Thank
just,
you.
yeah, that just shows you the power of an encouraging and
Oh yeah.
thoughtful mentor or
Yeah.
coach or
Yeah.
teacher.
Yeah.
There are coaches in my life who are now like my business partners, and it's
Right.
because they had such an impact on me. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's like this, it's a biblical thing, like iron sharpens iron. They
Yes.
sharpened my iron so much. It's like I want to be around that 24/7
Yeah.
because I'm a better person, I'm a better businesswoman, I'm a better flutist because of their influence. And you're
Yes.
right,
Yes.
like you have to surround yourself with these people who are going to uplift you and encourage you. And going back to your analogy of the flower, you have to
Mm-hmm.
look at the environment and say, okay, like there's too many weeds. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
have to be courageous enough to go throughout your lawn or yard and pull out the weeds, so
Yeah.
that way you can bring in the fertilizer and the sun and the rain to make your flower grow.
Yes.
And, it's so crazy for you how it's like full circle. The people
Yeah.
who were saying to you,
Yeah.
hey, like, look around, you're doing that now for
Right.
your students. And that's such a cool moment, I'm sure, for
Yeah.
you.
It is. It is. It's kind of the Lion King, like the circle of life. you know, it's coming back already, like
I
it's.
love it. Da, da, dum, ba.
Yeah.
I can see baby Simba being
I
raised
know.
up.
Yeah, but pretty much,
Well, in
it's
240
fun.
episodes, Lion King has never been mentioned, and in 240 episodes, Pixar has never been mentioned.
Right, right. So you
I
should
love
charge.
it.
You should charge.
I love it. No, that's so great. And
You
what an
should charge
encouraging.
them.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Hey, Disney, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Now, next month, when you guys see another corporate sponsorship, now you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
thank you so much for that encouraging story. And there's so many beautiful gems in that. And I know that
Mhm.
will resonate with the listeners for sure.
Mhm.
So,
I
to
hope so.
fast forward to your album, this
Mhm.
past album, Beyond Bossa Nova, is
Yes.
that your first album
Yes.
release?
Yes, it's my very first one.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm planning on doing more stuff in the near future, but that was
Yeah.
my very first one. It was like giving birth. I'm not gonna do that, but it was so much work,
Yeah.
because I've been trying to do this, just in very short or long short story. I was invited back in 2015 to play a recital at Duke University. So
Okay.
Duke has this conference on Brazil, and
Mhm.
it goes like from politics to culture and social economics, like everything.
Hmm.
And then I was invited to be their last panelist, or so it was supposed to be a recital, but also, almost like a lecture recital, right?
Okay.
So I was the very, very last event to close it out, the whole conference and everything. So they were very specific about the repertoire that they wanted me to play. So it was supposed to be classical music from Brazil only.
Hmm.
So like it was very nice to me because I was like, well, there's a lot of music, but it's interesting because like there's not a lot of music for flute and piano from Brazil that I actually like. And I don't want to go into that because like a lot of people will say like, oh no, how come? No, no. But in summary, they were like, you have to play only classical music. So I started like doing
Hmm.
some research and all that stuff. And Villa-Lobos is very prolific, so he will be the first choice, right? But I wanted to showcase more composers. So I did a lot of research about this, and I found a lot of music that I really enjoyed. And we did play the recital. He was with Gian Gezu, the pianist, on my album as well.
Hmm.
And it was a success. Like people were so like, "Oh my god, I've never heard this music," blah 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 blah. And I was like, "Oh my god, that's so awesome!" So I started thinking like maybe it's time for me to share this music with more
Hmm.
people. If
Hmm.
it was very well received right now, maybe will be well received by more people. So we started planning out that, maybe an album would be the product of that kind of recital. So we started like playing and performing all over the US. So we played the same repertoire in many places like Virginia, Chicago, some places in Pennsylvania, DC, here in New York as well. And then one of the places, which was in Lancaster, there was a journalist that came to our recital, and she actually wrote an article about it. And she said that she was very surprised with the music that she was listening to because of course, it was Brazilian music, but it wasn't bossa nova. It wasn't Girl from Ipanema. So she said that, and the name of the article is Beyond Bossa Nova.
Hmm.
That's how I came across the name of the album, because
Oh,
actually
okay.
that was what the album was about. Because usually a larger, like talking about like a larger audience, people know about music from Brazil, but it's either bossa nova or Villa Lobos. So what's beyond that?
Okay.
So
Oh.
that's why the album was called Beyond Bossa Nova.
Oh,
And then,
cool.
yeah, it features a lot. It's only Brazilian music, only,
Yeah.
only, only, but Brazilian classical music, not beyond that.
Okay. I love that. So since you said it was kind of like giving birth,
Yeah.
I feel the same way with 360.
Oh,
It's
I'm
it's
sure.
it's very interesting to see that parallel and that connection in my mind because it's
Uh-huh.
like so much blood, sweat, and tears lovingly go into whatever project, whether it's
Yes.
a podcast, an album, a
Yeah.
website, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Part of like it feels like part of your soul is being sucked out from you
I
just
know.
ever so slightly, but in a
Yeah.
fun way. Like that sounds very like, oh, right, like dramatic or like you don't like doing it,
But it
but
is
it's gratifying though. It's really
yeah.
gratifying, even
Yeah,
though
it
there are
is.
birthing pains and labor pains. But it's worth it. The rewards are huge.
It is.
Um,
It is.
so with the birthing pains of your digital album baby,
Mhm.
what was the biggest I'm going to use this word and you can tweak it if you want to. What was the
Mhm.
biggest setback or the biggest hurdle that you had to overcome throughout the recording production process?
Oh, it's also physical copies now as well, not
Yeah.
only digital. Yeah.
Oh, good to
People can
know.
buy it. Yes.
Okay.
I, you
I'm just
know,
going to drop that in there.
yeah, it's
By the
hard
way.
today. Yeah, it's hard nowadays because like people don't buy CDs anymore, right? But
Yeah.
I do have physical copies, so if people want to purchase them. Anyways,
Nice.
um, I think the biggest setback was COVID because
Okay.
we started planning the whole recording process before the pandemic started. So
Okay.
we tried out like many places, many pianos, and many sound engineers, and then the pandemic started, and then we didn't know when it was gonna finish, right? And then
Oh.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was gonna be done in a week or two, and then it was a year and a half.
Yeah.
And each state was handling in a very, very different way. And my pianist lives in Virginia, in the DC area, and I live here. I was already in New York, so like The traveling thing was, it was a pain. Like, there was so many planning going to that just because, I mean, not just because, but because of COVID, people were
Mm-hmm.
dying. There were a lot of
Mm-hmm.
restrictions. There were a lot of things that
Yeah.
were going into that. But then, yeah, once COVID finally, was kind of away, which is not, but
Yeah.
it was more manageable. We were able to finally like, okay, we can actually do this,
Huh.
which was last year. But we have been playing this for like maybe, as I said, since 2015. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe 3 or 4 years, So
Yeah.
it took a long time, but mainly because of COVID. It
Hmm.
was a long time that we literally had to stop all the planning, all the playing and the performing and all, and there was no way, right? Like everybody else to do anything. And then, yeah, I think that was the biggest setback, at least for
Hmm.
us, it
Oh,
was,
for sure. I think for
yeah,
anybody
yeah, for
under,
everyone, right?
yeah, under those circumstances.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What was one of the biggest lessons you learned through that process?
I'm very organized, but I will say though, for the next one, I will try my best to be triple organized because
Interesting.
there is always something else happening outside of my control range.
Okay.
So, for instance, we did the album in Virginia. So that was a great thing for us because I went to JMU. My pianist also went to JMU. So we got the recital hall at James Madison University for free, and their recital hall is like amazing. They just built like maybe 10 years ago. So like it's brand new. Everything's so great. And JMU is also a Steinway school, all
Hmm.
Steinway school. So like we got brand new Steinway pianos to, play for the recital. We could even pick, like, they have so many, concert pianos that we literally could pick. And then we had the Steinway person that tunes the piano officially for the school for
Oh,
free as well. So
wow.
that was like, yeah, everything was amazing on that side, because he was very good. Um, but I think like, what was your question again? Because now I'm
Oh,
digressing.
yes. No, you're doing great. I forget the question.
Oh yeah, but yeah, no, just talking about the process of the whole thing. Oh yeah, I was
Yeah.
talking about being organized.
Oh,
So
okay.
one thing that happened was that, for instance, we did the whole thing in a week from Monday to Friday. But one thing that happened was that I got a train from New York to DC and then a bus to Charlottesville because there was no bus, that would be going directly to Harrisonburg. That's where James Madison is.
Okay.
So the bus actually didn't show up. So I was already in DC and then I had to go to Richmond. And then there was a huge confusion, like because of the bus schedule. And then I had to have someone picking me up in Richmond, but like that was not on the plan at all.
Mm,
The plan
mm.
was very structured. Like I was going to get the train, I was going to get to the bus, then someone was going to pick me up. I was going to be at JMU at this setup time. We were, start recording and then you will be fine. No, we literally lost the whole Monday you
Oh,
know yeah,
oh,
so like there was no recording on Monday. Like my pianist was there, the pianos were tuned, the sound engineer was there, like everyone was waiting. I wasn't there,
yeah.
and what are you gonna do? Like, I I didn't drive from New York to Virginia. And then, but because I trusted, the train schedule and the bus schedule,
Yeah.
even with like a delay or like an hour or two,
Mm.
it wouldn't impact much. But because there was no bus, like when I got to DC, I think there was no bus at all. Like they literally canceled everything. It was like, what am I gonna do now?
Huh.
So we lost a whole day of recording.
Wow.
So we had
Wow.
to not rush, but we had to, kind of,
Make
I
up
don't
for
know.
lost time.
Yes, in 4 days.
Wow.
So, which was fine at the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the plan, right? Because he would give us,
Mhm.
the plan was like to do it in 4 days and
Mhm.
then spend one whole day to touch on things and edit,
I
right?
see. Okay.
So we would have 5 days, but not, not recording 5 days. And what happened was that we only have 4 days, and then the whole process, the after, afterwards, like, production and all, mastering and
Yeah.
mixing, all that stuff had to be done virtually, which that wasn't the plan, right? Because we
Yeah.
live in different places. The sound engineer lives in Virginia as well, but he lives like an hour from JMU. So, and my pianist lives in the DC area, and I live here in New York. So, like, it was a lot of back and forth
Hmm.
afterwards because of that.
Hmm.
Excuse me, because of the, you know, we couldn't do it in person.
Hmm.
That was the plan. So that's something that I'm gonna do next time. I'm gonna be triple organized and like kind of anticipate any kind of problem,
Yeah.
and then have a plan for the case in a case that something happens, even if it's a pandemic, if it
Yeah.
happens, what can I do about it? Do I need to
Right.
stop? Do I need?
Yeah.
Uh, so that's something that I will do. I'm pretty organized, but
Yeah.
it didn't it didn't help at all,
Yeah.
it
But you
was the
can't
same.
you roll with the punches and you learn like,
Yes.
okay, like more of these circumstances can pop up because
Yeah.
life is life.
Yes.
The bus
Yeah.
will not always be on schedule, the train will not
Yes.
always do its thing.
Yes. Yeah.
There might be a worldwide pandemic, like,
Oh yeah.
you have to roll with the punches, and good for you to like keep getting up and then swinging your bat again, getting up,
Yeah.
swinging it again, and yeah, you didn't hit strike right away on day one, and it didn't go the way you had anticipated, but you went ahead and you're like, okay, I still have 4 days. Let's make the
Yeah.
most of it.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. One of my last questions that I want to pick your brain about is hearing those circumstances and knowing me, I think I would have easily crumbled under the pressure of being like, instead of now having 5 days, I've got four. And
Uh-huh.
going in, I think I would have like let that beat me up a little too much. Like,
Uh-huh.
because
Uh-huh.
then I think I would have felt as an artist the pressure that much more. Like,
Yes.
okay, recording
Yes.
already is daunting and
It
stressful to a
is. It
certain
is.
degree. I mean, as much
It is.
as it's fun to collaborate and as much as it's fun to share music, there's a certain level of pressure in
Oh
a
yeah. Oh my
situation
God.
like that, right?
Yes.
And then in
Absolutely.
my mind's eye, being like, oh my gosh, I've lost a whole day,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So did you I'm sure it affected you to some degree, but it sounds like the way you're talking, you were unfazed. Like, okay, well, here we go. We've got 4 days. Is that accurate? Or did you feel the pressure like, oh, oy vey, I've got 4 days now. I lost a day.
That's a nice word, though. Yeah, I never thought of it, but I did feel unfazed. Yeah,
Really?
yeah, I did.
Huh.
That's very interesting. I did feel like that. I'm very, when it comes to like big projects like this, I'm very much a person that like, I prioritize things.
Okay.
So that means that, like, for instance, I got to Harrisonburg in Virginia, and I had a talk with my pianist. I had a talk with the sound engineer, and I asked the questions: what's possible to be done?
Okay.
What can we do in 4 days? Can we do it? We
Okay.
have this amount of music that we have to record. It
Yeah.
has to sound extremely professional. It has to sound good, right? We
Mm.
have standards and all. We are professional musicians, and it's going to be out in the world. Like, so it has
Mm.
to be good, right? So, what can be done in 4 days? Can we do it? Yes, we
Mm.
can. Okay. So, my feelings now are not the most important thing. Like,
Okay.
so that's what I mean about prioritizing.
Okay.
Not that I shut myself down. That's not what happened. But
Huh.
I had to kind of take myself out of the situation in a ways that, like, you know, I had the plan to do this, and I have to make this happen in the amount of time that I have. You know,
Okay.
After the 4 days, I can cry, I can be anxious.
Ooh,
You
interesting.
know, I can roll around, I can
Scream, hit a
be angry.
pillow.
Exactly. I can punch a wall after the 4 days. Not is not the time to do that. So
Interesting.
I'm
Yeah.
very much into like this kind of, just like I'm saying, prioritizing
Yeah,
what
yeah.
has to be done as
Uh-huh.
opposed to how I have to feel,
Focusing
because
on the
I'm,
task.
yes,
There's a task at
because,
hand. Let's go in, be professional. Let's do the thing. And then
yeah,
later I can pick up those emotions and scream and
absolutely.
vent if I need to.
Absolutely.
Huh.
Also because like, as, players and musicians, every everything that we're gonna do, our emotions will come out anyways.
Yeah.
Like they
That's
will.
the nature of what we're doing.
Exactly. So, and I had such difficult music to play. If I didn't prioritize my emotions, I would literally sabotage myself. And
Got it.
then what I saw was that, if I prioritized the emotions that I was feeling at the moment because of all the frustration and, the disappointment regarding the bus and the train and everything and life happening,
Hmm.
I wouldn't be able to make the recording happen.
Yeah.
And then I would
Yeah.
have to rehire the sound engineer, you know,
Go back to
it would
square
be
one.
so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were in such a crunch time because like I was about to the week after I had to go back to New York because I was starting like my job already. JMU was already finishing their summer schedule, so like classes will be back. So like the whole school will be back as well. So like noise. So like I had to literally put into consideration like that there was so much that would happen if we had to reschedule the
Hmm.
recording process. So I
Hmm.
was like, okay, this is not the time. So let's focus on what we have now. And
Yeah.
then I feel the things, during my my train ride back to New York, I will be able to feel everything that I have to, you know. But right now, I can't. It's not the
Yeah.
time. So
No,
that's the
that's
thing that happened.
amazing.
Mhm,
And you actually kind of are reminding me of a very strong memory that I had before the pandemic. I had given
mhm,
myself a little European tour in order to beef up my resume and
mhm,
my
mhm.
CV for the
Yeah, yeah.
academic jobs that I was applying to.
Mhm,
And one of the Greek tour, I was playing in Athens and Thessaloniki, and the day of the very first concert in
mhm,
this archaeological museum in
mhm,
Thessaloniki. Big
mhm,
deal. I've worked really hard for this. It's the
mhm.
first recital of the tour dates.
Yeah,
And it was the night before, but I hadn't realized it until the morning of the recital.
yeah.
Eric and I, my husband, we had done some shopping and things like that. We got on a public bus, and it was the only time in those 3 months. We lived in
Mhm.
Greece for 3 months. It was the
Oh,
only
wow.
time. Yeah, it was really cool. That's a story for
Amazing.
another day. Um, there's like a Greek Heidi in here. I don't speak
Yes.
Greek, unfortunately, but oh my gosh, moussaka! I lived on that for 90 days. It's
Oh my
phenomenal.
god.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
But the point is, of the 3 months that we had lived there, I had always, always, always worn my like purse, like backpack, like a kangaroo pouch. I
Mhm,
always wore in the front so I could see the zipper. I always had my hand on it. And this was the
mhm.
only time the night before the concert that I had worn it like a normal backpack. And
Okay.
somebody on the bus had slipped in and stole both of our passports.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and so then we had to, in a couple weeks after I played, the handful of concerts
Yeah,
in December, we would have to leave the Schengen area because, as you know,
yeah,
as American citizens, we're only allowed 90 days in, and we were 2 weeks out, where we would
yeah.
have to cross the border to non-Schengen, and the plan was to live in Bulgaria then for the next 3 months.
Oh my god, I
And
see.
so that morning of the concert, I'm going through to, just to kind of reorganize my purse. I realize the passport is gone. And
Yeah.
I'm like, this is devastating because now, like in 2 short weeks, we have to cross the border.
Yeah.
without a passport. What am I
Yeah.
going to do? And so the whole point is very similar to your situation.
Yeah.
And here I am saying, like, oh, under that kind of pressure, I don't think I could hack it. Actually, I was able to hack
You
it.
did.
So
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh,
Yeah.
shoot, what do I do? This is going to be so expensive. How do we even go about this?
Yeah.
You think of the embassies and all that, and you think of the
All the drama,
paperwork,
right?
all the
That,
drama, and
yeah.
you're like, what is going to happen? So, anyways, you're right. At some point, you have to decide to turn that off. And I
Yeah.
was under so much stress and I was freaking out, but I was like, you know what? In 5 hours, I
Yeah.
need I need to perform. And I have
Yeah.
this lovely program. I've rented out the archaeological museum
Oh
in
my God.
Thessaloniki.
Yes. Yes.
I have a pianist who's from the area. I have a recording engineer. It's a big deal. I
Yes.
I worked so hard for this. I've got
Yeah.
to give it my all. And if anything, the one thing that I'll add to this, that maybe you resonate to a certain degree, because
Mhm.
that pressure was there, and because I then had decided, right, that
Yeah.
this performance was important to me. I worked really hard for it. I was
Yeah.
not going to let some thief take that
Yes.
from me.
I know.
I
Yeah.
actually upped the
Absolutely.
ante and I was like, all right, I am going to like give it my all. And I don't
Yes.
know if I would have been in that mentality or that like zone if
Uh-huh.
the passports weren't stolen.
Right. Yeah.
Because you know what I mean? Because like I
That's
wanted
true.
it so bad, and I wanted to
That's true.
have, and it was great to have that release
That's true.
creatively, just to kind of throw my sound out there and just like give all of me,
Yes.
to my audience because I
Yes.
needed that release. I needed to have that therapeuticness in,
Yes.
do you know what I
That's
mean?
true.
And
Yeah,
so
that's
I
absolutely
I
true.
wonder if in a certain way you kind of resonate with that, like we're going to make this happen, and there's kind of this a
Yes.
little bit more of a like a not drama, like a little bit more of a pizzazz, or a little bit more of a like a ooh, I'm going to do
Yes.
this.
No, absolutely. One thing that actually added to the situation was that, I love my pianist, but she freaked out a little bit
Okay,
when
okay,
we lost one day of, the recording plan. And she was like, I don't want to feel rushed. It was like,
okay,
you are not going to feel rushed, but we
nice,
have to make this happen.
yeah,
There is no other way. So like it does resonate with everything that you're saying, because like it comes to a point that's like it's a matter of choice, really, because the problem will be there as well.
yeah,
Like whatever situation that happened, it will be there,
yeah.
if you play or if you don't play, the problem will still be there, we missed a day of recording, and
Yeah,
we won't have that day back. There's
yeah,
no way to have the day back. The same way
yeah.
for you, like,
The
because you're
passport
like,
is stolen. It's
yeah, you're
gone.
not going to get it back like in 15 minutes. Even if you go to the consulate and cry, they won't give it back to you in 15 minutes.
Yeah, no,
So it's
yeah.
it's for us, especially like us musicians, artists, and all. Like it's
Mm,
literally a matter of choice, isn't it? Like it's
it is.
always a matter of like prioritizing what we have to do in the moment, how we have to feel in the moment. Because if not, we will always sabotage ourselves, and then we won't achieve the goal that we are, supposed to achieve.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
love
yeah,
that.
yeah,
That's amazing. S-
yeah.
So, to wrap up the most laughable episode of all time, I
Thank you.
I love it. I actually needed this more than you realize.
Oh,
It's
thank you.
speaking of therapy, it's been very therapeutic for me just
Oh,
to
awesome, awesome.
listen and learn and laugh and, just grow this relationship. It's
Oh,
really
I'm glad. I'm
amazing.
glad. I'm glad.
Yeah. So, as you know, sometimes at the end of 360 episodes, I will do
Mhm.
a very short segment called Picks, and it could be your favorite pick of the day. So, your
Okay.
favorite book, TV, cereal,
Okay.
phone app, whatever you want to share with the listeners. What would your pick be?
Okay. Here we go. Okay, so for book, right
Yeah.
now, what I'm reading, it's actually right here, is Atlas of the Heart
Oh,
by
cool.
Brene Brown. It's
Okay.
very, very good.
Okay.
She actually has a show on HBO Max about this book as well.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's very, very, very good. She
Okay.
talks a lot about the book, but like she also interviews people because she talks a lot about shame and being vulnerable, and but that's all based on data. It's not just like we should do this, we should do that. No, she goes on data. She does research on
Oh,
shame, yes, and being vulnerable.
okay.
So that's my pick, Atlas of the Heart. That's
Okay.
by Brene Brown. For a TV show, I love watching TV. I
Yeah.
actually do. I love watching TV. A lot of people don't, but I do. I'm not gonna lie, I love The Office.
It is a great show.
Yes, I really like The Office.
Yeah.
In terms of like maybe let me see an app. Um, I really like. I'm not gonna lie too. I like Instagram. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not
Well,
like
you are very active on social media.
Thank you. I try to be, but I try not
Yeah.
to be crazy about it, because,
Okay.
some people post something new every single day.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do that,
Okay.
and I don't know if I want to know though.
That's fair.
Because I love posting, and I think it's so great. Social media is so, so great.
Hmm.
But it's something else. Some people just make that their lives,
Yeah.
and it's something else. But I love photography. So like I like
Oh,
just going on Instagram, like seeing how people are like taking photos, and like what's about, like, even how they added them, or like how people are like, promoting themselves as well. What's
yeah.
new about it, how people are like editing their. I love Instagram stories because like people get very creative.
Yeah, they
And
do.
right, yeah. So I love seeing that kind of thing because like
Yeah.
either for myself or because like we're creative, so like I just love seeing people being creative as well.
Mm.
Like, let me see. TV shows, yeah. So TV shows. In terms of movies, I love anything Marvel. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh,
I'm a huge Marvel fan. So,
yeah.
like, if you ask me, I've seen all the Marvel, the MCU films and TV shows. The only
Oh,
one I haven't seen yet is the very last one, which is Ant-Man. Which was
huh.
I think came out last weekend. So that's why I didn't see it because I was on tour in Texas and in Kansas. So that's why I haven't seen it, but I'm doing it tomorrow.
Wow. You are
But
on it.
yes, yes, I do like seeing it like in everything.
Yeah.
What else? I think that'll be it, right? Maybe.
Yeah. No, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Those are great picks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing your journey, your story,
Thank you.
your
Mhm.
background, your album. And if anybody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to do so?
People can just go on my website, and it's my website is just my name, Guilherme. It's like my name. First name is Guilherme. I usually go by Andreas because it gets a lot less confusing for people. And
Okay.
then my last name, Andreas, Andreas.com. And
Perfect.
for my Instagram, which I'm more active on Instagram than Facebook,
Okay.
but I do use Facebook as well. But my Instagram is just Andreas Guime. So that's very easy, and I'm very accessible, like approachable. So like if people need to get in touch, like have questions or anything, like
Mm.
just get in touch because I answer pretty quickly. But basically, yeah, my website and Instagram. I do have like YouTube and all that stuff, Facebook and all. I don't have TikTok though. I That's something that I still have to learn how to do it. A lot of people are like very professional in that already.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm still like figuring it out, you know?
I got suckered into TikTok about 4 months ago.
Oh,
And
really?
all my younger friends, because I'm an older millennial, all my
Okay,
younger
me
friends are
too.
like, girl, you got to get TikTok. I'm like,
I
nobody
know.
needs to see an old 30-year-old, late 30-year-old on TikTok. They're like, no, 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 it'd be so good for 360. I'm like, all right. It's actually
Yes,
a lot of fun.
it is. It is. It is.
Only because like this is long form content, what I do day in and day out through 360, like these 45, 55-minute talks. But it's
Yeah,
kind of cool to switch gears and go to like a short reel.
right, right.
So
Just
for
15
me,
seconds, right?
yeah, it mixes it up and it's really good for me.
Yeah. For me, what really, I don't know, some people, Instagram has that as well now. Sometimes the reels are like so quick.
Yeah.
They make me dizzy a little bit sometimes. Like you've
Yeah.
seen something and then your eyes are like, woo, 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 you know? So I think like that's one of the reasons why I'm still avoiding TikTok, but I will get
Okay.
to it. I will do it. Yeah, because
That's fair.
people always say like, especially for your album, like you have to go on TikTok because people are gonna
Oh,
be. And
interesting.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, that is true. That is
Like
true.
little sound clips.
Yeah, exactly. Just to make it
Yeah.
more,
I
popular,
will
whatever.
say that out of all the social media platforms, I think that I've purchased more items
Hmm.
because of TikTok reels and information.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh.
like when I see like a fashionista or somebody who's into makeup or skincare or hair care, they're like,
Oh, that makes
"Oh,
sense.
you got to try this hair product, or you got to try this mousse, or you got to try this mascara." I'm like, "Oh,
Right.
I do have to try it," and I'm
This
buying that
makeup, right?
sucker like really quick. And skincare too, like because the old. Speaking of being, in my late 30s, your skincare like regimen is completely different than
Yes,
when you were in your
yes,
20s. And so
yes.
now I'm like typing in all the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, and Andreas, I'm just like, who am I? I'm typing in like anti eye wrinkle cream and things like that. I'm just
On
like,
TikTok too?
yeah, on TikTok. And then like these people,
Amazing.
like the influencers will pop up and be like, oh, try this brand, try this, da da da.
Yes,
I'm
yes. And it
like,
works, right?
it
It
works. And I'm
works.
like, and
Yeah.
then I go in there like buy, buy, buy.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, anyways, I say that because it's interesting as being a businesswoman and finding ways to reach my people,
Yes, yes.
how I consume content as a consumer and how
Y-
it affects my spending habits. Isn't
Yes,
that
yes.
interesting how a
And
quick
your
15
lifestyle
second,
as well.
yeah, and your
Hmm.
15 in that quick 15 30-second clip
Yeah.
can like make your Amazon cart go from zero to a couple $100 just like that.
That's absolutely true. Oh my God. Yeah.
The power of social media.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Oh shoot.
But
Well,
thank you
thank
so
you
much.
you're welcome, Andreas, and
Yeah.
pleasure's all mine, and thank you for carving out time for us.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we'll be in touch, and you have a great evening.
Thank you. You too. Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.
Hey, friend. Thank you so much for checking out today's episode with Andreas. I hope that the content has served you well and it has given you new thoughts and ideas towards your musical goals in 2023 and beyond. Speaking of beyond, that was a good segue. Speaking of beyond, go to Spotify or Apple Music and support Andreas by purchasing his flute album, Beyond Bossa Nova. I know he would really, really appreciate the support. And lastly, if you want to be supported through our flute community, you want to go to Facebook and join our Flute 360 family group. All you have to do is click the link below, and we would love to see you there. Thanks! Let's talk about flute.